how it's been 2 years of Zoom and I still can't get into some of these things. Truly painful. Okay, so we'll reconvene our meeting here at 6:36. Just to let everyone know who's tuning in or for the recording for prosperity's sake, we started the meeting today at 5:11. We had 3 in-camera items under section 16 and 21 of COIP, and we recessed at 6:20. Everyone grabbed a quick sandwich, I'm sure, and ran back to their computers and waited for me patiently while I basically cursed at my computer until I got in. So thank you, Jonathan Gordon, for phoning me and getting me back into the meeting. All right. So with that being said, we have no motions arising from our closed session. And it's a fairly light agenda here tonight, so I don't expect us to be too long, but by all means, if something's on your mind, ask away. We have adoption of the previous minutes, 6.1 for January 11th, 2022. Can I get a motion for that? And then I have Councillor Martin. Any errors or omissions, Councillor? All good? Excellent. All in favor, hands high for the recording, if you're in favor. Excellent, that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. 6.2 is adoption of the regular council meeting minutes for January 19th, 2022. Can I get a motion for that one, please? Councillor Dixon, I was pointing right at your little tiny window in this computer because I knew that you were going to be the man. So, any errors, omissions in that one, Mr. Dixon?
Nope, just had to get my 2 cents worth in there. I'm good.
All right. So Councillor Dixon gives us the motion to adopt the regular minutes of January 19, 2022. All in favor, hands nice and high for the camera. Excellent, and that is in favor unanimously. Thank you very much. Question period. Question period is a section of council where we have 15 minutes for the public to ask questions of council or administration for clarity or general concerns. You can email, text, phone in, however you want to get those messages to administration or council. You can directly email council and we'll bring it forward for you if that's the case. And so I believe it's not on the agenda here tonight, but we did receive one later today. So Mr. Patience, do you have a question that was submitted for us?
I do. I have a question from Mr. Jim Lawton. And the question, and it was actually submitted earlier. So this question is, I read with interest that Black Diamond has agreed to spend some $685,000 on a new fire truck. And it got me wondering, why would either town be making these kind of decisions when amalgamation appears to be very close to becoming a reality? If the amalgamation proceeds, this decision will impact the new town. The new town should be dealing with these issues jointly after amalgamation is completed. I would think that both towns should be in a holding pattern until amalgamation proceeds or is canceled. So my question is, why would either town be making these types of decisions at this time and not merely be waiting for amalgamation to happen or be outright canceled?
Well, that's a great question. I actually talked to Mayor Brendan about that when it first came up on their agenda. He wanted to ask me about how we look at those large purchases, and we did reference that, you know, a conversation would come up at Joint Friendship Agreement Committee meetings, so JFAC, which is our vessel for the two towns to meet. But when it all came down to it, they voted to go ahead with that purchase because their fire chief had a really good relationship with the organization that was redistributing a piece of equipment that aligned with their purchasing requirements. And so he brought that to council, and council decided that they would go ahead. They built a reserve for it and make the purchase. So I totally agree with Mr. Lawton. Those types of conversations are super important when we're such close neighbors and we're looking at savings. But in this case, Black Diamond Council chose to move ahead with that purchase. So I understand they got a pretty good discount. So, you know, good for them. good for everyone if the towns finally get amalgamation over the table, because they did get a good discount. So that's about all I could offer in terms of the mindset there. But I know Turner Valley would definitely bring that forward as well, and have the larger conversation at a JFAC to see that we're making sure everyone's covered. So hopefully everything pans out in the end, and we're moving forward. All right. Any questions? Cindy, you want to add in on that?
Yeah, I did just want to add, just as in case Jim's not familiar with the amalgamation package, that the fire departments, we do have to maintain 2 separate fire halls, the same as we are now. They're not a department that we can merge and cut from because of the river. Just wanted to mention that. But yes, we have in our own capital plan, we put off new vehicles for our community peace officers because of amalgamation. So we are doing it where we can.
You're muted, Mayor Crane.
Sorry, good catch there, Jonathan Gordon. Good catch there as well. That emergency services is not one of those areas we want to reduce. We want to make sure that they have the best tools at their disposal and keep our communities as safe as possible. So thank you for that. All right. And if that is all, you can pen a response and give Mr. Lawton kind of an idea, as Cindy said, of what we've done on our side to stay some of those purchases until such a time that we know the directions of amalgamation, and just let them know. Yeah, awesome. So moving on from question period, if there's nothing further.
No.
I don't believe there is. Statutory hearings, we have none. Delegations, we have none. But we do have a verbal report, 10.1, for the Chief Administrative Officer, which is you, Mr. Patience. So we will listen intently.
Well, thank you, Mayor Crane. So I don't have a whole lot to report this evening. Obviously, we've been working on a number of planning issues and preparing for the return of our development officer on a limited work scope, which we're very much looking forward to. Currently, we're working on the waste bylaw in conjunction with Black Diamond, and met this morning to discuss that further. Lisa has developed, or is completing a development of a draft bylaw that we'll be sending shortly over to Black Diamond for opinion and comments that we can bring forward jointly to both municipalities. And our target date is that first meeting in March as we speak. We're also preparing a number of background pieces that would follow that the council is obviously aware of. I would also say that we received an additional shipment of bins this morning, and I'm yet to determine or been told if that was the last of the shortages from our first 2 loads. But nonetheless, we've got a yard full of green and black bins waiting to be delivered and dispersed. So our target is still the same as it was before, being May 1st or early May. And we want to get those bylaws to both councils by the first meeting in March at this point. That's our target date. Also, I've been working with Ms. LeBlanc and signing off on a Smart Start program along with Community Futures. That's essentially a business mentorship program for our municipalities. And we will be looking for a community volunteer to work as part of that program to assist businesses, assist new business startups, etc. So that's really all I've got tonight. I know there's a lot of background stuff that I've kept council abreast on as we've gone forward, so I don't want to be repetitive in that form. Needless to say, we've got most of our staff complement back to working, subject to COVID, and hopefully it stays that way for forever. Yeah, that's about it, Mayor Crane. Is anyone else having issues hearing the mayor?
Yeah, he's switched off. I had a
Oh, you know
question,
what?
but
You wouldn't be the first person to say I've switched off there, Councillor Waring.
just
But I,
to follow up on that email I sent you today.
Aaron
I-
Dixon.
There's, as I said in the email, there's a lot of residents here who are getting their recycle collected by a third-party agency, and it's a contract paid monthly. So if and when we decide to commence the curbside recycling program ourselves, it would be good to give people at least 6 weeks notice so that they're able to give the notice themselves in good time.
Yeah, if I might add to that, that also our staff are working with Okotoks to develop the communication plan that would go along with the bylaw approval so that we can get it out ASAP. So we've got multiple facets working in unison to try and get this achieved by the end of this month or like I said, early March.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Now I'm unmuted. Good. Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, CEO Patience, just if you would quickly, you mentioned looking for a volunteer for an engagement in the business community. Can you either provide a few more details on that or in regards to what that role would be, or will there be information provided on the town website for folks to view?
There will actually, Councillor Dixon. I just signed off on that program this morning after meeting with Ms. LeBlanc to get some background on it. I wasn't familiar with it myself. It's something that's coming through Community Futures, and I don't know if our Community Future members can expand on that, but it is essentially a business assistance and mentorship program that they're initiating. And we in Black Diamond are actually considered one municipality for that application. So it'll bring us $750 a piece, and it does involve some volunteer time from member of our community to assist where possible and where plausible. Oh, and I thought that was an update on that. That was Miss LeBlanc. So yes, we'll be posting up information on our website for sure and advertising for a volunteer to assist with that program.
Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, and Councillor Rob can probably add a little bit to this. When I was sitting on Community Futures, we talked about the Smart Start program. It was started by Community Futures West in Cochrane, and it's a really good program that supports basically what it says, startup businesses right from the ground up. And so I think it's a great program that has good potential for our community. Councillor Rob?
Yes, I am aware of it, as Councillor Gordon says. I think you answered it pretty well. Although I'm aware of it, I think the details I think you did a better job of the details than I probably could. But it is a mentorship for new businesses, and it requires a mentor. And she did report at our last meeting, this was last week, that Turner Valley Black Diamond are well on their way. So it was good news. That's all I can report.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councillor Gordon? Okay. Because we've got such a light agenda, there was one thing that was burning on my mind that I wanted to follow up on, and I understand we got an email. So, Mr. Patience, could you inform us what the response from ConocoPhillips was from our last negotiation regarding the land?
Sure, Mayor Crane.
Is that not in camera?
Well,
Um,
I'm
Issue.
not sure it is.
Okay.
We didn't
I
have an
will-
in-camera meeting, so people have been asked. Well, I'm just going to throw it out there. We've been asking ConocoPhillips. We had a motion to purchase the land directly behind the fire hall, and we've got a response now that puts us in a queue. So I'm going to ask: is this a legit in-camera item that we can speak to? Because I think it's time that we start having a public conversation around this. So I'll leave it to Lisa and Sean to debate the legal portion of where we will go with this. How's that sound?
Thanks, Mayor Crane. Okay, let me do this. I would never suggest that we get into details of a negotiation in an open forum. I don't think that's probably the right approach. But suffice it to say, yes, we are trying to work with ConocoPhillips as part of an overall development strategy for lands that are encumbered, that we would like to be made available for municipal or for private enterprise use. And we are working with them on a specific piece as we speak. They have suggested potentially at this point may be better to hold off until a decision is made on amalgamation. I've made council aware of that, obviously. So suffice it to say, I will continue to maintain communications with those representatives of ConocoPhillips, who also hold a number of other portions of land within the municipality, to determine how and when we can work with them to make those lands available for potential future development or for expansion of either municipal or private enterprise facilities. How's that for?
That's good. I only bring it up because I think it's time that we start looking at brownfield development grants, talking to the province, cultural Alberta, make sure our gas plant gets open, and talk to the feds also about brownfield development, and really start focusing on how we can remediate these lands and become environmental stewards to the best of our ability, and so on. So there's a large conversation here, and we need all the players at the table, and we're going to start bringing that forward. So, Councillor Gordon, thank you for your update, though.
Yeah, just as a really quick follow-up, I'm wondering, from the perspective of taking out the purchase of lands away from this conversation, picking up on what Mayor Crane just mentioned about brownfield development, accessing the federal and provincial grants, it's kind of tied to that administrative inquiry question. What can we do to really get all of the same people to the table to actually now get this moving forward, and not just talk about it, but actually enact it? So I'd seek some guidance from our administration on that.
Yeah, so as you know, a thought was brought forward not very long ago in terms of looking at and exploring options for some of the encumbered properties we have in the municipality, and to look at an overall development strategy to expand our commercial and light industrial sector where and when we can. And obviously there's a lot of that will require some work in terms of environmental mitigation, potentially removal of abandoned pipelines, brownfield redevelopment. So Ms. LeBlanc and I are working on a report for council. Understand there's a lot of nuances to this, but suffice it to say, I think it's integral to the growth of Turner Valley that we can find ways and means to work with the companies that hold these properties to find viable options for their long-term use. And I think that's a benefit to not only the municipality, but to them. And I will say that so far, I think we've had very cordial conversations in regards to that, and it gives me a positive feel as we move forward, but I don't want to blow any steam up anybody's pant leg. We are talking about some long-term propositions in some of these cases, but every journey starts with one step, and we're trying to initiate that as we speak. And we know that it's clearly very important to the future of our municipality here that we have the ability to expand our commercial and light industrial cores, and that we get some of the vacant properties in our municipality into a developable state where we can capitalize on the growth that we're bound to see from the expansion of the metro area. Can you tell Excellent. I was a politician at one time?
That's great. No, that's great. That's perfect, because as we move into our strategic planning session here and in the next couple of months as a council, this is going to be top of our agenda.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important that we start talking about what players we're going to need at the table to start moving forward to get more business land available. So top of the agenda for us when it comes to strategic planning for sure is going to be this conversation. Councillor Martin, Dixon, Holiday, Rab, anything before we move on? Because really we're going right from here down to correspondence. So, Councillor Martin.
You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Hey,
there.
so you're muted.
My apologies, folks. Does the federal government have any lands in the town of Turner Valley?
The Crown has a number of properties within the municipality. Most of them are adjacent to the river. And I believe probably were purchased as a result of the last flood in terms of protection and limiting development. So I don't know that, I believe most of it's the provincial government, if I might, Councillor Martin, but I certainly wouldn't stand on a stack of Bibles and attest to that, but I do believe that's the case. Whether it's the Crown, whether it's provincial or federal.
The reason why I had asked, in our council procedure binder, there was a section on there about grants, and that where the town could apply to the federal government for a grant for any properties that are owned by, I guess, the Crown. Is that correct?
There are and have been in the past, and I'm just updating myself on this as we speak. There have been brownfield redevelopment grants available through the federal government in the past, and I believe they still are. And this is, and my odyssey at Turner Valley has exposed me to this. So typically in other communities, you're talking normally about, say, a gas station that's been abandoned and needs to be reclaimed. But Turner Valley, this is not really a small issue. This is a very significant issue because this was the home of most of the gas production in the early 1900s for the entire country. But as a result, we're left with a legacy that requires some input to be able to redevelop into a form and fashion that we can move forward into the modern world with. So there are grant options available that we are currently exploring.
Okay, thank you very much, Sean.
Councillor Waring, thank you for that. Councillor Martin. Waring, go ahead. You're muted.
Previous CAO was directed to contact Alberta regarding the 2 parcels of land that they own on North Roylite. At the time when they were purchased, what the council of Kelly took, which Mayor Crane and myself are members of, it was indicated to us that that land would eventually be available to give back to the town by the province. I understood from what the previous CAO had to say on this was that this is indeed available for the town, but there's a negotiation process on the price, a little bit like the other lands. The only reason for us to gather those lands would be recreation, river access, and there is no recreation things at all in the Roylite area with river access. So it would be quite a feather in our caps, I believe, if we could make that happen, whether we are or are not amalgamated. It also would link into the future pathway plans that PPREC are working on. But that's just for your information, Dave. But it would be interesting for us to carry on that purchase at a nominal dollar or something, if at all possible.
Yes. Great points, Councillor Waring. All right. Anybody else? And with that, I believe that is 10.1, Chief Administrative Officer's report. We'll accept that for information. Councillor Holiday makes that motion to accept for information. And all in favor of that? And it's nice and high. And that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving on, we have administrative responses. Well, we don't have any of those right now because we had our question earlier and we responded. Administrative inquiries, usually from council. We didn't have any this time around, so we're clear. Bylaws and policies. I think we just finished a record-breaking pace on bylaws and policies in the last year. So it's actually nice not to have one to debate right now. So we'll move from there. Old business, we have none, but we will have more to follow on the across the river property, shall we say. New business, 15.1, we have none. And general correspondence, we have none, but we do have some correspondence with action considered. And this is a very exciting 17.1, the minister's letter from Municipal Affairs. Thank you for your meeting with us on December 16, 2021 to discuss the proposed amalgamation of the towns of Black Diamond and Turner Valley. I appreciated the opportunity to hear your candid perspectives on the proposal to amalgamate. Once again, I want to acknowledge the excellent work and the dedication of both town councils and administrations that have gone into this process. I am prepared to move forward by recommending the amalgamation of your towns to Cabinet. Once I have received formal resolutions from both town councils expressing support for the amalgamation. I recognize that such resolutions were provided prior to the recent municipal elections. However, I am seeking confirmation of the positions of the newly elected councils before I make my final decision. To meet your proposed timeline for implementation, I request that each council formally respond to this request by the end of February 2022. In the meantime, my ministry continues to be available to assist you. Please contact our advisors, yada, yada, yada. Signed, Minister of Municipal Affairs, Rick McGyver. So that is a fantastic letter of support from the minister. And I think, well, we just need to speak to this again. What we want to do is we want to move this to the joint friendship agreement meeting on February 8th or 9th? 9th. February 9th, where we'd sit with Black Diamond Council, and then we can have another full debate about the way forward. However, right now, what I'd like to do, just so people know where we stand, and I'll lead off if everybody's comfortable with that, but I'm just going to let you know my stance on this as we move forward, and that is I've always supported amalgamation. It's a no-brainer for me. It's the way forward for our communities in the long run. The fact that this letter from the minister absolutely agrees with our application speaks volumes to me. 400 and something odd pages and not one recommendation from his department. It is clearly we 100% agree with the way forward for you guys. I just want confirmation, and he's ready to stamp everything we've asked in that application. Extensive amount of money, time, effort, expertise, consulting fees, administrative time, all of it, council time, council energy has gone into this application. It makes me proud to see that there's such support at the provincial level. And I would just throw that I 100% support amalgamation moving forward, and that's how I'll be voting down the road. So, council, I'll let you guys have a go at it. I had a cookie. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, nobody else going to throw up their hands, so I will. I'm in support of this, the amalgamation. That's what I ran my platform on in the first place. You know, I think both towns have worked together for a long time, and I think that it seems to be the logical way to move forward. You know, it's going to be a tough road. There's lots of work to be done, and hopefully we can get this moving forward sooner than later. I don't, I don't see any benefit in prolonging this any longer than we have to. We've spent an enormous amount of resources and time on this already, and I'm certainly hopeful that both councils will see a path forward, and we can move on at this point. So I will be supporting this as well.
Councillor Rabb. Thank you.
I'm a hard yes on this. I totally agree with amalgamation. I think we are so fortunate to live so close to Black Diamond that this is a realistic possibility. I know financially it would be in the best interest of all our taxpayers, all our residents. I continue to hear from businesses and individuals in both communities of how they're looking forward to us making it happen. I'm a little disappointed that the minister has asked for support again. We have gone through this last fall, and I was thinking that once would be enough, but here we are. So hopefully we can make it happen this time and get the minister to move on. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you, Councillor Rabb. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, thank you so much. One of the other letters that we accepted for information in January's meeting, I believe, was the recap from Minister McIver regarding how and when he met with both councils in December. And if you recall, I asked the minister about the funding availability to help us manage the costs of our transition. And at the time, Minister McIver thanked me for doing the job of a councillor with a cabinet minister present, making sure we were asking him questions for money. And, in January, I followed up with another request to get confirmation about what he may provide for us or what options to support and to some extent lighten the financial burden of our community. And Mr. McIver replied back in an email saying, in response to your question regarding provincial financial assistance, I understand the town of Turner Valley as managing partner received a total of $200,000 from the Alberta Community Partnership to support the amalgamation negotiations and report development. Then he further went on and said, following amalgamation, municipalities are also eligible to apply for funding for post-restructuring from the Alberta Community Partnership according to grant guidelines at the time of application. Under the 2021-22 program guidelines, a newly amalgamated municipality from two previously existing municipalities would be eligible to apply for up to $250,000 for transitional costs and up to $950,000 for infrastructure or debt servicing costs. So my quick math tells me that's $1.1 million available. Pardon me, $1.2 million available. And I just want to encourage those residents who are listening. We have options to alleviate our burden in this immediately, $1.2 million. But I keep coming back to Appendix 10E in the amalgamation report. We highlighted one department that showed when we have one council and one amalgamation, one CAO, we have a savings of close to $400,000 each year. Now, I don't know about you, but that's an investment I'd make tomorrow. If I could turn around and go here to Northwest Turner Valley and buy a house for $400,000 and in 10 years realize a $4 million investment return, I'd be all over that tomorrow. So I hope we as a town, and I hope the councillors around the table will consider what the benefit potentials are for our towns. I fully support amalgamation. I think the benefits to be realized are serious and will help our communities to provide great stability, increase service levels, and other options to benefit our community. So I look forward to our next JFAC meeting and see what encouragement we can provide one another. Thank you.
Well, you didn't throw the gauntlet down there, Councillor Gordon, for anyone to follow. Councillor Holiday? Great job.
He took all my numbers from me, so I don't know what else to say other than a few years back when we were thinking of what to call our club basketball team, we of course picked Diamond Valley Dragons. club basketball because I 100% support amalgamation, and I fully am excited for what it will do for our communities to have that united name, that united front, to stop the competition, stop the, the inefficiencies that happen by running two identical towns side by side. We have major financial savings. Strategically, it makes sense. I just want to get it done. So happy to support it.
Awesome. Thank you. Waring?
I always thought W went last, but that's okay. I, like Mayor Crane, we've been involved in this since early 2015. This rushed program that I'm hearing stories about. Yeah, so nearly 8 years we've been working towards the point we got to when we submitted the proposals to the minister last year. I'm 100% supportive of amalgamation for the future. Maybe people will realize that small communities are dying. We're getting less and less federal assistance, provincial assistance. That means the only way we can keep our infrastructure up to date, keep our towns viable, is by increasing taxes. If we stay independent. When we work together, we spread the load, we spread the income, and we can grow. And I believe, having talked to many residents of both towns, to our partners in IEDC, the major business owners in these communities, that they are 100% behind this. So if it's good for business, it's good for residents, how can we say it's not good for the two towns? So I'm on board all the way.
Thank you, Councillor Waring. And Councillor Martin, I guess you can clue us off.
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane. As I've said many times, I sit on the fence, and just as Councillor Waring said, there's been lots of talk since 2015. I at times feel I'm disadvantaged because I haven't participated in a lot of the discussions that went on during the past year. I have taken the time to go through the report, and there have been questions that I've asked, and until actually reading the report again, I did find my answers, and that's why folks can't tell me what is our future to hold. And I am really looking forward to the JFAC meeting to hear all sides of it, because I've only attended one meeting. I've watched the public sessions, but I haven't been involved in the actual discussions.
Excellent. Thank you. And we look forward to having those discussions next Wednesday in a public forum again, so that we can weigh in and really make the case for amalgamation one last time. Councillor, I was going to say Councillor Patience, your old hat. CAO Patience. Muted, bud.
In my meeting this morning with my counterpart from Black Diamond, Ms. Brown, I did discuss the contents of the response from the minister to Councillor Gordon's email. I wonder, Councillor Gordon, would you have any issue with me sharing your email and the response from the minister with our counterparts in Black Diamond?
No, by all means, please do. I mean, it's not a private email. It's a public document, and it confirms some key elements, so please do.
All right. Anything else to add, Mr. Patience?
No, I will just say that as we speak, I'm sharing that email. Done. So I have nothing more to add to that. Appreciate council's comments on the subject and look forward to the conversation at JFAC.
There you go. So if I can get a motion to move the letter for discussion for the February 9th JFAC meeting, that would be all the action required we need this evening. And I'll take Councillor Rab, beat Councillor Gordon to the punch on that one. So there's the motion, and all in favor? Hands high for camera. Thank you. That is carried unanimously. 17.2 is Municipal Climate Change Action Plan. The email and the electronic vehicle charging program. I actually like this. I'm going to let you introduce it, Sean, and then we will open the floor for some comments from council.
So yeah, this is a program that obviously we just received information on very not long ago, and I put it on the agenda for discussion. I know Black Diamond has an RFD on their agenda this evening on this very topic. I have been working with Ms. LeBlanc on this to get what I felt was sufficient background information and relevant information in terms of not only capital costs, but ongoing operational expenses and ability to recover costs and methods to recover costs on such a program. And certainly she's been having a number of communications with members of the program administrators. I will also say we didn't feel we were in a position as of yet to be able to provide council with enough information to provide you with an RFD. However, I do believe we're actually getting close, and she's asked that we can defer this to the next meeting. There are a number of nuances to this particular program. This is a capital grant program that would essentially rebate the municipality for the cost of the installation of different facets of charging systems, level 3 chargers, I believe level 2 chargers as well. The difference is speed of charge. We're still uncertain as to what we're looking at in terms of a business case for this. I think it's a fantastic program. We're also very cognizant that there could be geographic limitations in terms of the number in any one area or vicinity so that it's spread out equitably. We're also cognizant of the fact that private enterprise is also taking up this challenge, and what does the gas station of the future look like if it doesn't hold charging stations, for instance? And if municipal government gets involved in this, which, by the way, I think is a great program, and if we can use it to attract people or have people stop, say, in our downtown core for a half an hour recharge on their electric vehicle, maybe we can empty their wallets a little bit at some of our stores, which I think has some certain advantages. But I do think we would, what they're looking for right now is an expression of interest. And if council's comfortable at this point, I'm happy to initiate that. If you would like more details than we've been able to provide this evening, we're happy to bring those forward to our next meeting in terms of what are operational costs going to look like, what are technical costs going to look like, how do we recover those, what is the payback on items that aren't covered under the capital program. My first instinct was, let's jump in, let's send in the expression of interest because it is a first come, first served basis queue. But I always prefer to be more prepared than we are currently to answer all those background questions that I think are important to the conversation. But I'm happy to take council's lead on this. And certainly we're moving into the age where electric vehicles are not only going to become popular, but likely the norm as we move forward. And I think incumbent upon us to plan for that type of a future. The question is this a business? Is this something that municipality wants to get involved with? If so, how and where, and what are the costs we're going to be looking at in terms of capital? How much of that will be rebated to us, and what are operational expenses going to look like? Is this a program that could defend itself financially? And some of those questions we don't have answers to just yet. There is a webinar on this tomorrow, as you see in your package. If any of you are interested in participating in. And I believe Miss LeBlanc is going to participate in it, and I know she has been in contact as late as prior to our meeting this evening, because she is texting me on this. And she has emailed me some additional information, but I don't like rolling it out haphazardly, and I would like council to have the opportunity to be able to review it not under duress. So I would leave that in your hands at this point, and happy to answer any questions that I might have.
Perfect. Well, I think this is one of those high-level strategic kind of long-range visions, and I think this is a great time to just have that conversation. So my speaking order is Gordon Dixon Holiday Waring. So try not to go into too much detail, guys, with your questions, because I think tomorrow's webinar will give us a lot more answers. But whether you agree with kind of this vision, I definitely want to hear from council for sure. So Jonathan, you can lead us off.
Yeah, we're on the Cowboy Trail, so I don't think we should just give an expression of interest. I think we should give an expression of great interest, and let's get that ball rolling.
Pretty straightforward. All right, we'll go right to Dixon.
Yeah, so I support this as well. I do have a question. But first of all, I actually have an electric scooter. Some of you may have seen me zipping around town on it. It's a fantastic little vehicle. I'm not sure if this particular charging setup would work for that particular vehicle, but anyways, it's the wave of the future, and I think we definitely need to get on board with these sorts of things. But I'm just curious if there's any sort of information in regards to what the uptake is, besides myself in town, obviously. Any of the members of the town, or do we have any information in regards to how many electric vehicles there currently are, or we currently see coming through town, or anything like along those lines?
I don't have any of that data, Councillor Dixon. I will suggest that this afternoon, Ms. LeBlanc sent me some additional information, and I'll just quickly pass that on to you, that the application deadline is not set, and it may remain open for at least 6 months and maybe an ongoing program. However, expressions of interest should be submitted as soon as possible. Capital costs outside of the items that you see listed, extensive network and development upgrades are not eligible for funding. Initial development costs potentially could exceed funding coverage. Municipality can, and this program is only for municipalities, they can recover costs through charging fees, current market rate levels. For a level 2, which is a slow charge up to 8 hours, or $1.50 to $2 per hour on a charge. A fast charge, actually I just got a link, so I'm going to have to take some time to research that. Current demand and use is speculative, as this is a growing industry. Feasibility study could potentially be funded through grants, but of course, if this is a first come, first served basis, I don't know that would serve us well. And there's some questions in terms of logistics and boundaries, numbers in certain locations, and consideration might want to be given to commercial business opportunities, even though funding is only available to municipalities. Private enterprise are starting to establish charging stations to complement existing fuel options, as I brought up previously. So that's what I can add to the conversation at the moment.
And as a quick follow-up, I think I've brought this up or asked this question once before. Can you just touch base on whether there's any town or any conversation within the town as far as town vehicles are concerned, moving towards electric vehicles in the future or anything like that?
Well, and this program actually supports that type of endeavor as well for municipal fleets, right? So currently, I would say this, that obviously our capital budget council is well aware of, since we've passed the interim one. But I think that's a great question as we go forward, and because we're not dealing with long hauls, especially in a municipality. And it absolutely will have relevance as we move forward for municipal fleets. So while there's nothing on the books at the moment, I think it's a great option as we move forward and begin to replace municipal vehicles, if we can potential, minimize maintenance costs. And I still don't have any perspective or business case in terms of, relative operational costs for electric versus petroleum vehicles. But I can tell you, I filled my gas tank up yesterday and still having palpitations from that. So
Thank you very much.
Our speaking order is going to be holiday wearing Martin. I will just mention one thing for Councillor Dixon. You mentioned statistics or data on how many vehicles are coming through. Our last meeting, we had Foothills Tourism Association attend as a delegation, and he spoke of the data collection through apps, the downloads, the credit card information, the vehicles, and so on. So we can use the Foothills Tourism Association to access those types of data that would give that business case and give us a real time how many people drove through town in a Tesla, yada, yada, yada. As well, electrical bikes around town are super popular right now. And I know, if we go to Caslow, there's rentals for electric bikes. You just hop on one and go. Anyway.
Could we get that information for a future meeting to be shared with council? Was that possible?
I think that's definitely an avenue to follow. Yep.
Thank you.
Holiday wearing Martin.
Yeah, I'm happy to support jumping into the queue as quickly as possible with an expression of interest. I don't think it hurts. I did just want to somewhat organize who wants to attend. I'm glad to hear that Mcleod is attending. Do we need one other councillor to attend, or I don't think it does anybody, all of us, any good showing it. Everyone showing up. 2, you're saying, Barry?
2's good.
2's good. And I don't know if we can because we were supposed to RSVP. So I don't know if there's
I would volunteer if there needed to be a volunteer.
Okay. That's one we'll go up to Waring, but yep, good points, Cindy. Waring, we'll go to you.
I just say get on the list as fast as we can.
Yeah.
If we look at the trends these days from other countries, never mind local trends, lots and lots of countries are putting deadlines on petroleum vehicles being allowed on the road. So, I mean, we have one resident in our condo who's got a Tesla car. Yeah, I'm very much in favour of pursuing this and finding out what we can. And indeed, if you need a motion for that effect, I'm happy to give it.
Yeah, excellent. We'll take that after Martin. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mayor Crane. Does anybody know if there is any other community that does have a charging site?
yes, actually, there are 6 charging sites in Fort Mcleod, and they have been actually in use for, I believe, in excess of 3 years already.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that technology is already obsolete, as happens in the world today, but that was put onto actually a private location, and I'm not sure how it was funded or who funded it, but it is attracting a lot of vehicles, and I believe it was logistics that drove it there because it's at the conjunction of highways 2 and 3. So, yeah.
Longview.
Yeah, Waterton has them.
Okay. Do some of them go to corporations to get some support or, funding or anything like that? You have ATCO Gas that also sells electricity, or, EPCOR.
I think that would fall into private partnerships where the town could look for those partners. I think this is the federal climate change grant, but I don't think that would be against the rules. I think that's a great idea that we find some sponsors, because the one thing that I do want to point out is how do you get the money back? And I would be looking for that. Even though they're going to, support it 100%, light poles cost money and taxpayers cover that cost. Someone driving into town wants to charge their car, there should be a cost. So those are things that we would hammer out. But yeah, the other thing that I would point out, guys, is the market for the electric motorcycles hasn't really peaked yet, and that's coming. And of course, we've got Motorrad, who's a massive motorcycle traction for this area. So as the motorcycles start to get the electric vehicles happening, again, there's another partner that potentially is down the road, right? So, Rab, why don't you clue us off, and then we'll take Waring for a motion.
Well, I totally agree. I listened to the conversation. I went off camera, but I was listening the whole time. I totally agree, and I think it's going to be really popular down the road. It's a good place. We're on 22 highway. Let's get after it. So let's get some more information and see what we can do. So I'm totally supportive. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Waring, an expression of interest, please.
Motion to direct administration to contact these people and with an expression of interest. And we've all pretty well talked about this, and yeah, I'm very much in favour of checking out the numbers. And as we're a tourist destination, I'm going to get even bigger and better. Maybe Mr. Farr and Mr. O'Clair together would support one of these machines for us.
True. All right. We have a motion for a letter of interest to be sent, and we can get all the finer details later, but let's get in the queue is what we're getting from Councillor Waring. So all in favor of that? Excellent. All right. Good stuff, guys. Let me just scroll back here and expand. I must say it's nice having two computers set up here. I think we're on to correspondence period. That closes that off. So 18.1, 18.2, 18.3 are all Sheep River Regional Utility Corp. Can I get a motion from one of those members?
I'll give you that.
Merton beat you to it.
No, she did.
So Councillor Martin gives us the motion to adopt for information, and anything in there that we want to point out, any errors, omissions, or any information relevant that you might want to point out for the public. How's our leak situation, for example? We're doing pretty good.
I can tell you that we are already starting to look into alternative methods to get more water volume, well, not outside of our license volume, but a more effective and efficient way of getting water out of the river, so it will not be impacted as much by low water levels and ice and God knows whatever. But like everything else, it will most probably take 100 years, but at least they've started work on it.
Excellent. All right. Sounds good. In that case, all in favor of adoption of the minutes? And that's carried. Thank you. Intermunicipal Economic Development Committee, Councillor Gordon. Motion to accept for information. Anything to add? All good. Excellent. Status quo. All in favor of that one? That's carried. And we have Parks, Pathways, Recreation Advisory Committee, Councillor Dixon. And why don't you give us a little update on where you guys are at?
Yeah, so do you want to go ahead, Hazel, with this one? This is from the meeting before
sure.
the last one, so.
Both speak to it.
No, go ahead, Curtis.
Yeah. So lots of conversations around the pathways and getting the connectivities going. This is actually a agenda from a meeting before the last meeting we had. The only thing I want to just bring quickly to the attention of council, and we'll talk about this, I think, later on at another meeting, we'll have more time to discuss it. But we have been in some conversations, myself and Councillor Martin, in regards to an off-leash dog park. We're just looking at some potential spots for that. So I just wanted to sort of let the public and council know that that conversation will be coming up probably at the committee of the whole meeting next week for further discussion. So lots going on in Parks and Pathways, and lots of exciting things to happen. I know there's also conversations around the upcoming games that are coming in 2023 and preparing for that. Lots of things to prepare for the provincial games that are coming to our communities in 2023. So so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, lots of things happening. So if you want to add a little bit that I missed, Hazel, go ahead.
Yep,
I think just maybe the one piece is we're still working with the Indigenous people from Stoney and Dakota for the naming of the, for the new park.
And have you had contact with them? I know I have, just because they've got me on speed dial from where I was working out there for years. So have they addressed your committee yet?
Not yet. No, that is still with administration at this time.
All right, sounds good.
I just have a
All right.
quick follow-up in regards to the new park. If anybody hasn't been out there yet, I took my family out this past weekend and had a walk around, and it's a fantastic work. The Public Works needs to be commended on the work that they've done. They've still got some work to do, I think, in regards to that, and some things to work on. But get your families out there and enjoy the outdoors. It's a fantastic little park. So, great job. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can add to that, Curtis, that I go past there nearly every day. And the numbers of cars I'm seeing parked in the car park now is increasing tremendously. So it's being used and people are finding it. So that's good.
Excellent. Councillor Martin, clue us off. We're good.
No, it's a great committee. It's really good to have Craig on board. He brings a lot to the table. So it's, like I said, I've really enjoyed my time with him.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's good to hear. Motion to accept by Councillor Dixon. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much.
Mayor
And
Crane,
with
if I might
Yes,
just
sir.
add a little piece to that.
Absolutely.
We're not only working with our First Nations neighbors on looking at name options. Ms. LeBlanc is also working with them in terms of trying to interpret some of the First Nations history into that park as well, so that it's so that people using it recognize that it's got a past and what transpired here and what relevance it has to our First Nations neighbors as well. So it stands beyond just the name, but we're trying to develop a history in relation to the Riverlands and our First Nations neighbors as well.
Absolutely. Excellent. It's good to see the teamwork. Makes the dream work. All right, guys. With that, we are adjourned for February 2nd, and we will see you guys again next Wednesday for our JFAC. And between now and then, be kind, be courteous, and be safe. All right. Take care, everyone. Wrap.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
I think we'll see everybody Tuesday because we have a committee of the whole, do you not?
Oh.